Hello there, it's Andy Parks from the Washington Times. Great to have you along today. I'll be checking in with Valerie Richardson. She's covering the West Coast stuff, and that means Gavin Newsom. We'll have an update on that situation coming up. But first, as a listener to my podcast, you qualify to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. Simply go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. That's washingtontimes.com/ANDY. All right, where do we start? Well, Gavin Newsom, evidently the winner. Yes, he'll stay in office. 2/3 of Californians wanted this guy to hang in there. They are wacky out there, that's for sure. And again, Val Richardson will be along to explain what happened in the recall race. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Vaccine mandates. Joe Biden said we'd have herd immunity by summer, remember? Maybe he didn't know what he was talking about after all. Now there's a shocker, huh? But the more you see, the less comfortable you are. We were supposed to follow the science, right? Until the science didn't align with the Democrats' narrative. Fauci, he's an idiot and a liar. What's that, Ann? Mr. Fauci is an idiot and a liar. Right, show some respect. I got you. He should be in jail right now for lying under oath before the U.S. Senate regarding the use of American taxpayer money for gain-of-function research. Come on. Let's face it, the Wuhan lab took a bat virus and deliberately altered it so it would prove deadly to humans. And we helped pay for it. And now Joe is demanding people take the COVID-19 shot. And what's with Nancy Pelosi and the other libs not wearing any mask most of the time? Did you see that big gala in New York the other night? Oh, man, $35,000 a ticket and up. That's right. All of them in their fancy gowns, including AOC. No one wearing a mask. How about that? And then there was the 9/11 ceremony on Saturday, and as soon as the cameras were turned off, Nancy Pelosi took her mask off again. And then there was last week when gazillionaire George Soros and his son Alexander got together with the 81-year-old Speaker of the House. Did I tell you she's 81? I know she hates that. She's 81. And yes, it seems Alexander Soros posted a picture. He was so proud with his dad and Nancy Pelosi all leaning in, smiling, but not wearing any mask. Yeah, that's an old rules for thee and not for me. I'm sick of it. You know, they can take all this COVID crap and put it where the sun don't shine. That's what my daddy used to say. As I mentioned, the 9/11 ceremony, well, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where Flight 93 went down, the political types were out in full force, acting like full jackasses. George Bush was pitiful. He basically blamed Trump for the lack of unity in the country. He said he had no answers and solution to fix the problems, though. Hey, brainchild, first, congrats. You should have recognized you had no answers or solutions to problems when you were president. Secondly, wasn't it you that got us into the Afghan war and the second Iraq war? You know, the one where your daddy tried to kill Saddam and you sent us back there to fight? Joe Biden stood up there on Saturday, preached unity. You remember he did it during the campaign as well. But isn't he the guy that has said dozens of racist words in the past? Let's see, I can remember. Oh, a classic Joeism, the one where he said, quote, they're going to put y'all back in chains. Yeah, that was made before a crowd in Danville, Virginia on August 14th, 2012. The mainstream media gave him a pass like they have so many times before. Nothing like using a somber event like a memorial to those who gave their very lives for this country so that you can further your political cause. That is disgraceful. And then, of course, there's the most hated, worthless vice president of all time, Kamala Harris. The only good thing she did all day was not cackle during an 11-minute America is Racist speech. Again, a perfect commentary for the occasion. Really? Let's see, what else is going on? Oh, the White House had to cut Joe's microphone off again. At his most recent press event in Idaho Monday, he wandered off script to take a reporter's question when, poof, just like magic, the feed went dead. Makes you wonder who really is running the country right now, doesn't it? It's certainly not Joe Biden. Oh, and just for kicks, Joe threw in another lie to America. Joe, of course, was in timber country and talking about climate change and its impact on the timber industry when he suddenly blurted out that his first job offer came from Boise Cascade. You know, that big wood products company based in Idaho. But a quick check of the company records revealed no such offer was ever made. Nice move, Joe. Joining me now is Valerie Richardson, Washington Times Western U.S. political reporter. Hi, Val.
How are you doing, Andy?
Doing just fine. Gavin Newsom survives recall election in California. I guess Californians still like this guy despite his warts.
Well, that would be one of the takeaways, but there are a lot of takeaways from this election. He beat back the recall pretty convincingly, and Democrats see this basically as a referendum on a couple of things. They see this, they've been touting it at least, as a show that Joe Biden's agenda and the congressional Democrats' agenda is popular because Joe Biden came out and campaigned for Gavin Newsom, and the whole thing sort of took on a national character in the last couple of weeks there. So they're sort of, trying to, you might say, stretch it to say, hey, this shows that, we're a lot more popular than the polls might indicate. The other takeaway for them is that running against Donald Trump still works, even though he wasn't on the ballot and, is now a private citizen. But the whole recall was framed by the Democrats in the Newsom campaign as a referendum on Donald Trump. That seemed to resonate with voters. The recall went from being sort of right on the edge, let's say in early August, at which point it started getting separation, and the polls for the last month have shown that it was likely to go down to defeat.
Landslide decision too, wasn't it?
It was about 2-1. Yeah, it was roughly what he got when he ran in 2018. Now this, of course, is a heavily blue state, and he's got to run again in a year, so he's never going to be out of campaign mode. He got it was about, I think the last total I saw was like 64 to 36%, which was roughly what you saw when he ran previously. And there is a 2-1 Democratic voter registration advantage over Republicans in California. Clearly, you had to swing a lot more Democrats to get this thing to pass, and opposition just wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, you know what it makes me wonder, though? Over 2 million signatures were needed to get the recall. They did that. So how many people will say that's enough and head out of California? We know some have already.
Yes, they are losing population. They lost a congressional seat in this last census, which had never happened before in the state's history. It's always been a magnet for people. And clearly their problems are well chronicled. They have very high taxes, and it's very expensive to live there, but they also have enormous poverty. They have, the biggest poverty level in the nation, I believe. So you have, a huge inequality in that state. You've got these wildfires that we had a record wildfire season last year, and this year is on track to surpass that record in terms of acres burned. And a lot of people blame that on the environmental policies, that they're spending so much time on the green energy mandates that they're not managing the forests. So it was interesting, the COVID mandates that Newsom put in last year, that California had some of the strictest in the nation. Those were a huge impetus for the recall. A lot of people were unhappy with them. A lot of small businesses, didn't make it. You saw a lot of economic, turmoil because of them. But at the same time, Gavin Newsom, that was the one issue he really campaigned on, was the fact that he's fighting the pandemic and he's promoting vaccines, and he called his opponents like Larry Elder and the Republicans anti-vax, even though all of the leading Republican candidates said they had gotten vaccinated. But that ended up being a good issue for him. And I think, maybe one reason is that one of the analysis is that people who have been vaccinated support vaccine mandates. And, a lot of Californians, they're like in the top 10 in terms of vaccination rates.
Yeah. You mentioned Joe Biden a little while ago. I guess he'll be taking a victory lap today.
We already are seeing that as of last night. The DNC put out a statement, sort of cheering the fact that this was calling it a victory for Joe Biden, because he came in at, we saw Monday night sort of at the last minute, and the mail-in ballots went out August 16th. So it's hard to know, how much of an impact that Biden had. But the DNC was saying that, it was a major priority. It was a win for the, quote, bold agenda put forth by President Biden, Governor Newsom, and Democrats in Congress to build our country back better. So they're definitely going to be touting this as a show of support, and it comes at a good time for them. Let's face it, it has not been a good couple of months for the Democrats or Mr. Biden, and so this is, more of a avoiding the worst case scenario situation. It's what they've got right now to sort of tout.
In one of your earlier stories, you mentioned that Donald Trump warned about games at the ballot box in the recall. Any sign of that?
There have been a couple of news stories here and there. There was a report of an incident where some of the voters got there and apparently were told they'd already voted. The election people in Los Angeles County letter said it was a glitch and they'd gotten it fixed up and those people had gotten provisional ballots. You had in Torrance a month ago a man who was found passed out in his car with a gun, drugs, and 300 unopened ballots. And that got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And I think the Postal Service and the federal officials were looking into it. I don't think we've heard at this point what that was all about. So you've got little incidents here and there that have people concerned. Larry Elder did have a link to his campaign page, basically saying if you see anything that's troubling to you, fill out this form and we'll look into it. So they're looking for that, but right now you haven't. That's all it is right now is anecdotes, and we'll see if the Republicans or the pro recall people come out with anything that's more substantial than that in the next few weeks.
Before I let you go, what are you working on? Anything we should be interested in right now?
Yeah, well, I am working on sort of a recall wrap up. I'm also sort of working on a story on what's going to happen now that the Senate is back with Tracy Stone Manning. Her nomination to head the Bureau of Land Management is still sort of hanging out there. It's been a couple of months since she was approved by the committee. They pulled the nomination of David Chipman, to head the ATF, and so now people are wondering: are they going to pull her too, or are they going to push forward with her, even though her past association with tree spiking cabal in Idaho has gotten a lot of criticism, and Republicans are really united against her. So we'll see what happens.
All right, we'll look forward to that, folks. You can read all of Valerie Richardson's stories at WashingtonTimes.com. Val, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for joining me today, and remember to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. Go to WashingtonTimes.com/Andy. You'll get 24/7 digital access to the Washington Times at 50% off. Again, go to WashingtonTimes.com/ANDY. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.